people.
Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Where we help people change their relationship with food and fitness. I'm Coach Lyndon. This is
Amy.
Coach Debbie.
And of course, this is Coach's Corner. If you like this video, share this video, and of course, hit that notification button and subscribe. We want you to know when it's coming, so that way you can continue to get all of the news that we give as we share not only what's happening in space, but what we think about the topics both inside and outside the space. So, today, I got a topic, but I wanted to see if anyone else had a topic. Great. All right, so I got the topic. The topic for today, okay, we talked about seasonal depression. What is this month? Does anyone remember what this month is supposed to be?
Coordination.
Hey.
Men's mental health.
Hey, men's mental health. My man. All right, so there's a couple different things that are going on this month. We're about to head into what is known after Men's Mental Health Month is No Shave November. Also, No Release Self November.
Yo, that's how you
It's called,
Didn't know about that one.
Yeah, it's called literally No Nut November for people. So that way, keeping your seed inside, what do you produce before the end of the quarter? Literally. It's a whole thing that you can put yourself through to see what you've been giving away, right? What you've been keeping and what you've been giving away, and what you can do with the extra energy. That's a big part of it. Fair? So, we've been talking about expansion a lot. It's been coming up a couple different times, right? And I feel like when we sit down, we have these conversations, it's a chance for people to kind of see what we think from behind the scenes, right? Like, we're here pretty much every day, except for Emily. She's the one that's not here all the time. I'm kidding, you're here pretty regularly.
I was like, wow.
Because Emily don't never be here. No, I'm not saying that.
I mean, I don't know who Emily is.
Quite
but
literally.
I guess she's not even here now.
Emily Lenore.
Ooh, hey.
Lenore.
We do have people, again, most who's sitting here is here so regularly that honestly we have opinions or hear different things, and the community talks, right? And there's different things that get talked about, shared, and I usually feel like it's in alignment with whatever's happening in general. So we like to cover those things and expand on them. So if we're talking about capacity, which we talked about last time, now we're talking about expansion,
Jutsu.
right? So
Didn't hear what you said.
let's cover it from the top. I got you. Let's cover it from the top. Expansion mentally. What's that mean for you guys in this current season?
Are we starting here? We're going in the same
Yeah,
order?
let's go. Let's do the order.
I wasn't ready. I think
This is so good.
I think expansion is what happens after the big squeeze.
Would you like to define the big squeeze?
Yeah, we all know how it feels. The big squeeze is when life be like, all right, you can handle this, right? This isn't beyond your capacity. And you be like, I think it might be.
The trial.
Turns out it's not.
The trial.
Yeah, and on the other side of that trial, you've got an expansion. You've got I look at it as a manifestation of what you learned, kind of. Sure. Like, I got this message from the cosmos, and it was hard to receive. And once I do,
we gonna have to switch seats. Why'd you do that?
I did that?
Yeah, well, you definitely just
That's
did
why we
that.
have to switch
We
seats?
all heard. Yeah,
it was
why'd
the
you do that?
expanse.
I was thinking
why'd you do that?
about, you know what?
No, I love it.
Uh-oh.
It's a message.
What's up, kids?
Got released.
We just got to release the hounds.
I was breathing because I thought about what he was saying, and I thought about what I was going to say, and I just took a breath thinking about.
Okay.
Because I feel in a
Kids heard that
season
breath
of
and she was like,
expansion.
do I gotta be there?
I love
I
it.
wasn't
Do I
trying
need
to
to be there?
interrupt
Look,
you
she's looking
with
at
my
everybody
breathing.
No,
but
I
us.
like it. It's what came up from what I was saying, because I wasn't even speaking. Someone was speaking through me.
Okay.
Anyway, so after the the message is received, then it's up for you to manifest that here on this ethereal realm. I mean, corporeal realm.
I was like, what? All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's the expanse for me. It's like, all right, I'm taking that knowledge, I'm using it, I'm giving it away.
So the trial, you're talking about the trial that you experience and what happens as via the trial, right? Not in the middle of the trial, but via the trial. So after the trial is done. Okay,
Yeah.
because I feel like we're in the middle of the trial for so many people right now, which is why you said what you said. You both because you're both pretty, let's say foresighting people, whether you realize it or not.
Who's
right?
us both?
You and Emily Lenore. Emily
Yeah,
Lenore.
that's why I had to clarify. I was like, there's
That's
too many
fair.
people here.
That's fair.
Game.
That's fair.
I've said nothing.
I was gonna say. Amy
Don't
hasn't
look at
talked
me.
yet.
Yeah.
We talked this morning, but you two were talking is what I was referring to.
Gotcha.
So Dev and Amy are not the ones I was referring to. I was referring to Dev and M for clarity. So this morning they were talking about offices and what they were talking about expansion. And again, I don't think most people realize they're talking about expansion when they're talking. They call it dreaming, right? But if you want to turn your dreams into reality, then there has to be a set or a moment where you realize in order to change what is fantasy from fantasy, you have to do something to make it reality. Is that fair? So, of course, that's my thing. We call it the dreamer and the doer, right? I'm a doer by nature. I don't really like dreaming. Dreaming is very, very dangerous to me, especially without planning. So that's how I know I'm more of a doer than a dreamer, right? It's not like, man, I'm going to go out there and just attack the world. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Why do we want to attack the world? What's it look like? How do we get there? Where are we currently? That's the type of stuff that comes up in my head. Again, that's how I know I'm a doer. If the plan is set, I can follow the plan, right? So hearing other people talk about their dreams sounds, without anything to help manifest it, just sounds like dreaming. But once your dream has manifestation behind it, you ask for a thing, then you start to get trials. Fair? So I think we're just talking steps, right? Like I want to be a business owner, right? I want to help so many people. I can say that all day, and then when the opportunity comes by, I have to be aware that's what I'm asking for, right? So that's how the space got open, right? Somebody was like, man, there's a space that's open. Way beyond my scope, man. Way beyond what I was prepared for, right? Like I wasn't prepared to be in a space. As a matter of fact, it was a very dumb move at the time, right? If I had to be honest, it was open. I was taking over somebody else's lease, but I always try to talk about how I'm listening to God. So that was my whole he said go for it, so I'm just go for it. And then from that is your trial. See, it's not just listening. That's a trial. It's the things that come from it. Yes? Mm-hmm. So that's why I was talking about it the way I was. I'm glad that you brought it up, for sure. Your version of it. Physical.
Now, are we doing
Oh,
mental?
we're doing it different now? That's
Mental.
crazy.
I said mental. Yeah, my bad.
Mental.
We're still
Okay.
My bad. My bad. We're still on mental. My bad.
Okay. I think I've always been, I'm a doer. I'm kind of trying to change seats. Mostly because I realized that I'm really good at following other people's visions. Mm-hmm. And this is why I've maybe ended up where I did end up. I'm more purposely in a position now than maybe where I was when I was like, what do I want,
Sure.
right? I think that's a really huge question, and I always had a hard time answering it because all I knew was like, I just want to dance. I don't know what I want, and I was just kind of following a lot. So mentally, expansion, I think is, for me, it has been listening in the past few years because I think I was trying to direct the flow too much. I had to sit back at a certain point when I realized that I was forcing when I should be, following a path, right? And then realizing when it's time to direct the flow, right? To direct where I want to go. Okay.
Sure.
So it is really, the trials. And after that, I think applying that into the new season. We lost the dog.
Just laughing. There's just always something happening in the background nowadays. so we're just like,
Yeah.
it's all good. We'll get used to her. She'll get used to us. I'm just like, don't pee on nothing. That's
Oh,
literally
she's
my
not
thought
gonna-
process. That's why I'm like looking. I don't care.
I promise she won't pee, but you do have your carpet shampooer right here, so you know, it'll
You're
get
not a
taken
carpet
care of.
shampooer.
I am
You're so much more.
the carpet shampooer.
You're not limited by a title of shampooing.
No.
That's just something you do. That's
Thank
not who
goodness.
you are. Yes.
Expand my title, you know.
Expand my title.
Expansion.
Expansion.
It all ties in.
Yeah. Interesting to hear you say that, and I agree. I've definitely been more of a doer, and like someone tells me what they want to do, and I can make it happen. But I am in a season of really needing to know what I want and where I want to go, and I think I definitely need more time with myself than I realized to figure out what it is that what I want to dream about. And I think some of those things get placed in your path, but some of them don't, and they require like some sit back and stop forcing. So that just resonated with me, what you were saying. But I think also mentally, like we were talking about, expansion to me is perspective right now. So expanding my perspective, seeing myself, but also people outside of myself and how they're navigating, and that idea of trials, that they have to exist to grow and work towards what you want. You don't just decide what you want to do and then you're there, or you work for it, but it's easy. It's a lot of difficulty in the middle to get what you want to have. So yeah, I think it can feel overwhelming, but always worth it.
It's very loaded for me, so I'm just gonna
Yeah.
try to keep it as minimized as possible. So I'm listening and I'm hearing the difference. The two of you being unsure, and then realizing that I was the first unsure person, and then the second unsure person was Devin, and how neither one of us spoke on being unsure, which was super interesting to me, right? I realized a while back that there were no leaders who I could fully trust, who I could be like, I trust that leader because I know they have my best interests at heart. Their movements show it. The way they talk shows it. The things they give shows it, right? Not perfect leaders, but people who genuinely will give to you in spite of themselves, right? And I strove to be that leader because I was like, well, nobody else is doing it, so I'm gonna do it, right? And for the last 24 to 48 hours, I've been having to take stock of like what it means for me in season to be there for the people I need to be there for. And sometimes it sucks really bad, right? Like, it's lonely. Nobody can go to the top of the mountain and pull down the things that we need, right? So anytime a dreamer gives me a dream, it becomes a reality that I have to go to, I'm gonna get a little spiritual here, God with, in order to really see if this is something for us. So I don't believe that God would give me someone to be close to whose visions are something I'm supposed to fight unless he directly tells me no. And I feel that, like it's a conviction thing, right? If you say something and my heart's against it, I'm like, nah, right? And I laugh because that has made me seem agreeable to certain people, right? Like, because I won't fight what they say. I'm like, okay. Like, yeah, sure, whatever. They're like, for real? I'm like, yeah. Man, he's so agreeable. But I'm not agreeable. I'm just agreeable to what my God says, right? So I'm thinking back to the original where like Devin was like, I don't know, man, and like how that crew was and everything else. And I have a gratefulness and gratitude for the crew that's here now, for sure. I'm grateful for every single one of you. I'm grateful for the difference. I'm grateful I stuck with it long enough to see it, right? Because I could have quit and wanted to quit a couple times because doing it the way I'm doing it is hard, especially on the person. So the reason why certain people think I'm superhuman is because of the way I can endure, but they didn't see all the years before this I had to endure, where I came from, what I had to do to get this far, right? I think Amy kind of walked in on us kind of talking about it this morning, and some of the things that I've had to like be part of or experience in order to be the guy who can stand here in spite of self now. And I remember the first time we had a talk and how hard that was for you, right? Talking about Devin. The first time we had a talk, he was like, I'm fucking out because this dude's about to be like, fuck you and all this other stuff. And I really understand that, right? Like in a way, most people don't know. So when you told me, I said, I hear you. And I remember being like, but let me tell you what's really happening. And we had a whole talk and his eyes just went. I wasn't even paying attention. It's not that it wasn't in front of me. I just wasn't paying attention. I'm like, got it. Next thing you know, there were so many little awkward moments in our communication because you were unsure or insecure about sharing it that way, or you would know how that would be received. And a lot of that comes with just being a person, right? It's not you're afraid of me, right? Which is, I hate when people say that, especially when it's not true. It's one of those things where you're just afraid of the outcome because the outcome has been the other way. Fair? So that's why I said this is loaded. This is loaded because I'm watching both of you experiencing the same thing, right? The fear behind, and knowing that leadership hasn't done it right before, right? Co-signing yourself to my leadership, believing it will be different. It's a weight, man. Like I can't explain how hard it is to be in the position where you know that you may have nothing to give except for yourself. Does that make sense? And when you have to give of yourself in the way that people need you to give, man, it fucking eats away at you a little bit, you know? And that is a process, right? I have to be strong enough to let you chip away at me so we can be better together. That's hard, right? So that's what I'm experiencing in this current season, like being reminded who I am on a regular basis. I've got some good reminders around me, but at the same time, it gets rough. So mentally, expansion looks like the negative emotions before it looks like the positive ones. It looks like grief, anger, sadness, desperation, frustration. But at the end of it, it looks like stability, consistency. It looks like strength, right? Because I just think back to last season when we started the lunch challenge. I think I'm gonna be talking about this for months, right? Just because I've been showing up in spite of myself for quite some time now, and I feel like the rest of this season is going to be that. There's going to be a lot of Lyndon has to die to himself, into his old habits and his old things in order to be who I need to be for all of you. And yeah, that sucks a little bit, man. It sucks to die again and again and again and again until the version of you that can be who you're called to be can be. Right? You got to be willing to accept that ego death is important, even though ego may have gotten you this far. Man? All right. Said it was loaded. What was the next one? Physical?
Physical?
Yeah, let's go over that one. Expansion on the physical.
All right.
Training.
I mean, I think physically for me, that's exactly what it is. It's like, eat. Just eat and grow. And don't forget that's how it works. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm here training all the time. I was just talking with Kay about how when they were coming here for dance and step and all that they felt the strongest that they had felt. And I was like, yeah, there's a huge difference between working out or moving your body 3 times a week as opposed to 7 times a week. It doesn't feel to me like there's this much plateau in the journey for me. I know a lot of people feel plateaued, but I think because I'm doing so much and because there's like things I can tighten up on, but I'm consistently doing that much, the skill ceiling or the ceiling for me to grow and expand is very high.
Maybe my bad. When you feel stuck, maybe you're looking at something different. Like you change where your win comes from.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not, it's got to be in my physical this week. It's like, well, I'm having trouble getting up, so I'm going to get up every single day, and that's my win. And then the rest is a byproduct of the win, which makes
because I'm doing it so consistently. And I think if you're looking at your journey and you're looking to expand physically, and you find yourself moving your body 3 times a week, and then outside of that, you're not really doing much, just step it up to 4 times a week. Try it 5 times a week, and see if you can increase your capacity there, because that gives you way more times within the week to get those wins, to get those moments to expand. is because you have the door open more.
Fair.
I think this season, my physical expansion feels like expanding rest, which I hate. Because I am a mover and I don't really struggle with being consistent there. I struggle with taking time and making space. So I think my expansion comes this season in making space for rest.
Why do I have to sit still?
Yeah, which is hard. I'm hearing it. And and it's hard because even like just coming in and people are like, oh, so you're not gonna be here on Mondays? No. Oh, the first one I missed, I saw Ed and Jazz in the parking lot, and Ed was like, yeah, it was a pretty fire class. And I was like, why? So, I'm working on my FOMO.
Yeah, fair.
My physical FOMO, because I do want to be here, and I don't want to miss being together, moving together, like having fun and those. But I do recognize that also
Sure.
I can't realistically be here every night of the week and still be like a functional human being.
Facts.
Yeah.
Big business. Can it and it's just what we were talking about. Like I was talking about with the Devon stuff. Like it's where your win comes from. Like this is what I'm used to doing. I don't want to change it. Why do I have to change it? Like that's the hard thing, right? And fortunately, when you do the hard thing enough, you get to start to see the purpose of doing the hard thing, right? Again, mine is usually increasing my capacity, right? Like taking time off from like doing, like I used to train 6 to 7 days a week, twice a day. Like I'd be like, I love this. I've been here for 3 hours. Love it, right? But I realized that the 3 hours I was taking was time I couldn't be with my family, right? Or it was time I wasn't able to work on a relationship or build or even dream. Right? Like just the ability to dream. When your mind's so consumed with the thing, it's so much harder to just make space for what you want to give or do. Right? So yeah, there's a little sitting still, but it does birth some pretty amazing things. That's how I look at it.
Physical expansion.
Physical expansion. Good. Well, I would say I did a lot to increase my capacity over the last year, and then recently got kind of knocked out. So it is.
I thought you was dropping a bomb on camera. I was like, that's crazy. But you didn't drop a bomb on camera.
No thanks.
There's no bomb.
So
False
so I was out for a couple weeks, and then I am trying to. I'm not trying. I am coming back. Been coming back. And it's been interesting just to kind of be where I'm at so that I can get to where I know I could be. So the expansion is, like, I don't actually, in the past, I may have felt upset with myself, like, I can't lift this thing anymore, and, like, I'm sore and whatever, but I just actually feel so grateful from getting knocked down a notch. I feel really grateful that I can move my body and that I know I can get to a good place, probably a better place than I was, honestly. So I think I'm thinking about mindful expansion, gentle expansion, but still with the eyes on the goal of really being my best self and working towards that. That work maybe feels like the easiest work right now.
Can I say what that sounds like to me? An expansion of self-love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fat ass fox.
Fat ass fox. Fat ass. The fattest of foxes. Fox.
That's a fox. Yeah, physical expansion is probably the easiest for me. And it's because I've done it so long, so many different times, so many different ways.
Because you're so big.
Right? Right? But here's what I realized was my physical expansion into last year. My physical expansion had to actually do with seeing myself as I actually am. So for a long time, I think everyone kind of struggles with this, and this is why we don't do this in here. When I was a bodybuilder, I struggled with body dysmorphia, right? And a lot of it was just like I'd look at the guy next to me, I'm nowhere near as big as he is. That stayed with me. Even when I left the sport, it stayed with me. And I've seen other people struggle with it. We used to have a coach in here, I mean, she would speak on that regularly, right? And a lot of it just has to do with the fact that no matter how much they do, it's never enough, right? Like, it's never enough because they're not that. I think that could be healthily done, but I think it's very rare to see it healthily done, right? Also, the sport in and of itself has a lot of unhealthy habits. So those two things combined can trick you into believing you're not where you should be, so to speak. And I think a lot of people suffer from that, right? America's full of that. America's full of these different things where it's, you know where you could be, and then you start talking about where you could be instead of where you should be, not where you could be. It becomes the opposite, ironically. And so last year, I was doing something, and I saw a picture of me, and I was like, oh, well, it looks pretty good. And it wasn't my focus. Like, my focus isn't how good I look. My focus is like if you've seen LJ run around, this dude has mad energy. Like, he never stops, right? And I think he was made that way, right? So my goal is to be my son's superhero. Just like at one point it was be my daughter's superhero. And I remember her calling me that, like in papers and other stuff, like, my dad's a superhero, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, from that point on, so that's why, like, if people ever see me train, I'm not training to, like, lift more weight. I'm training to jump twice as high, 3 times as far, move 4 times quicker than last year. Like, I'm trying to look to my kids like what they can aspire to be as a human being physically. So my goal is to impress small children, which sounds crazy if I say it like that. But I want my kids to look up to me in a way where I am exactly who they want to be. And that requires a lot of damn work. Spiritually?
Spiritually is the easiest for me. To me, spiritually is like, let me give you some imagery. So
Let me give you some imagery. Let me set the scene for you.
So for me, there's a box, right?
Uh-oh.
And it's like, it's like at my core.
Why am I laughing at this? I don't know why this is funny.
It's a
Keep going.
Pandora's box that doesn't get opened
That's
very
why.
often.
There we go. I was like, there's something in there. It's gonna be
And it's labeled blind spots. Funny thing about living like more in the light is that I feel like that box is more glaringly like obvious that it's there. Like when you just by yourself sequestered at home, like you can have your box and you don't even need to look at your box because everything's dark and you only trip over it if you forget that it's there in the middle of the floor. But once you're living in the light, it's like, all right, there's this box here and I opened it before and I took something out and I've been working on it. And now I'm at a spot where it doesn't feel like I'm working on it as hard. And then you got to make the conscious decision to like expand, you know, to go back to your box and be like, all right, I know there's like mad shit in there, you know, and grab something else and start working on that. And that feels like expansion over time. The more you go back to your box, the more you pull something out and you ask the people around you, hey, this fucked up? What is this? Is this good? Then the more you get to know like about
This is
yourself.
yellow.
Yeah.
That's not yellow.
That's not yellow.
That's red.
I could have swore it was yellow. And that part, it's like you could always put it back in the. I've seen people put it back in the box and then go back into the dark and be like, yo, I didn't even have a box. I didn't even have a box. It's like, yo, we all got a box. And I just saw your box. You just acknowledged your box yesterday. And they're like, nah.
What happened to that yellow shit you had yesterday?
He's like, what?
It's red. Ah!
What?
You don't know me.
I didn't have anything. So that's kind of how it feels to me. Is like spiritually, there's like all this shit that you gotta unpack. And everyone always says, I gotta unpack this shit. What are you talking about besides your box of blind spots of shit that you don't like about yourself or you don't like how you're living and you should change, but you don't. You just keep complaining about
difficult.
it.
It's hard.
Because it's hard shit. Yeah, we were talking about changing your surroundings is a lot harder sometimes than like changing something else about you, you know? Like And the thing is, if you want to make lasting change about yourself, you should change your environment. You should change your environment. That's it. That's all I gotta say.
All right. then.
Yeah. Sorry about it.
Don't look while we talk about it. Just look forward. Change your environment.
Listen,
Clearly referring to an earlier conversation.
I was not.
Nah,
I was just talking.
That's not even a reference for earlier conversation. That's a reference
That's
for a
just
trial.
a life. That's just a life.
That's a
lesson.
reference for a trial. That's
Yeah.
what it is. Anything else? Tell me who ain't been there. Who
I'm
ain't been
there right now.
But thank you. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm laughing because I can literally through my peripherals see M's face. Right?
I'ma say-
other than that,
I'm gonna say this.
I'm
I'm gonna say this on camera.
Right?
I'm gonna say this on camera. I don't know if I should, but I was in the bathroom earlier, right? My dad hit me up and said I'm looking for an apartment,
Oh,
and I said, "All right." I think it's that season for everyone.
yeah.
I think it's that season for everyone.
Oh, okay. All right. Got it. I got it. It took me a minute. I was like, wait, why would? Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You called it too.
I did.
I remember you calling it.
This is the third one. The third one I've called.
Call you a prophet at this point.
It's ridiculous.
Oh my goodness. Hey.
The baton.
The
I
talking
think,
stick,
yeah. Spiritual expansion. For me in this season, I think is aligning with purpose, for sure. So, not ignoring the call.
Screening them calls.
She's like.
Yeah, you know.
You want me to get up?
So, really tuning in to that like dream part that I'm trying to sit in, and purpose and finding where those connect and guide the path forward. So,
Solid.
Great.
great.
You've been making a lot of stank faces. You're like a rapper who's watching bars they don't like, but they also realize they gotta listen to. So you'll be like, expansion takes time. She'd be like, I don't like that shit. I don't even like that shit.
You know, just sitting in it. Gosh. Okay. Well, I think mine's a little different. Spirituality. I feel like I just came out of my mom being a spiritual creature, and I think I've done a lot of exploring around that wasn't quite it for me, except for like my own spiritual practice alone feels good to me. And then I spent a few years recently burying my spiritual side along with other parts of myself that I'm currently trying to get back. So I feel a lot of things about that. I'm not sure I know how to describe them, but I've been just trying to get back in touch with like prayer and what that means to me, and kind of the self-talk aspect that there is there while you are praying to whatever you want to pray to. That's God for me. And I think, I don't know exactly where that's going, but it feels good to have it back. It feels more like me. Like I feel like being spiritual is helping me get myself back in a way that I really needed. So I guess that's all I got right now.
Sure. Bars. So, this is the part I hate talking about so
Every
much.
time he has to talk,
Gotta cleanse the demons.
You ever, well, I don't have to cleanse any demons. I keep those out. I pray every morning, devil, get off me. Every morning. I don't need that. All right. Right? I don't want that on me at all. Okay, so you guys saw The Forge with me outside of M. M is the only one who has not seen The Forge with us. I'm sorry.
Forge, sure.
Yeah, at the time.
Didn't think it was
all
coming
good.
back again. I should,
Oh, well,
I gotta watch it.
This is one of those things that's probably gonna come back forever. Like, and the reason it's gonna come back forever, it's because there's so much that happens. Like, we're creating The Forge without trying to create The Forge, right? And that's why seeing this movie helps you to really realize like what's happening here, right? Seeing it happen, seeing how it happens. Like I said, you haven't seen it, it's too late. If you see it, it'll matter.
Spoilers.
There's a point in the movie.
There's already been like 10 spoilers.
There was a point in the movie where the very first member was the same dude who killed the guy who started its son.
Yeah.
And he went to him and
Did see that
became
coming now.
like
Oh,
that was a huge moment.
I remember that.
Right.
From
So
previously
that's
not
what I'm
seeing the
saying.
movie.
That's why I didn't. Yeah, it's all good. So a lot of times, moments like that are defining moments, right? So this morning, I was finally voicing how hard it's been for me for like the last 2 or 3 days, right? To like John. It was only me, John, and Brown in space. And I told him, I was listening to Richard Cabral talk, and it helped. It helped me to recenter myself, because a lot of the times people know this version of me, but they don't know the version of me before this version. And I don't like to glorify the version of me from before, so I don't talk about the version of me before. But like a couple months ago, I took in my brother's kid, right? And I'm saying this on camera for the first time. I took in my brother's daughter. She tried to commit suicide. So the mother, only thing she could think was to leave the entire state, like be gone. I convinced the mom to stay and the condition she had is that she had to come stay with me. Mom didn't know what to do. It was the end of her ways. Now, this is my brother's kid, okay? So she told me that I could not tell him where she was, which is a major violation in the type of environment I grew up in. So I had to say, you have to tell him I'm only agreeing to this so you don't take his daughter, right? Like, and I tried almost every single day to tell her, like, you gotta tell him, you gotta tell him, you gotta tell him. Well, my wife didn't grow up the same way I did, right? So I know what the rules are, I know how to play the game, I know what the code is, et cetera, et cetera. So she ended up convincing my wife to let her call my brother. Again, telling him everything. So my brother found out in one of the worst ways possible that I had his child. So he called me, and I'm gonna get a little visceral on camera, but it's only because I need to prove the point. He called me, cussed me out, called me everything under the sun, and because he saw it didn't move me, he said the one thing he knew that would get me to react poorly. He said, I'm going to, let's say nicely, off your family, right? I said, you really just said that to me? He was like, yeah. I said, okay. He was like, okay. I said, yeah. Okay. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna go over there right now. He knows where I stay. This isn't some empty threat. He is that crazy. So I had to hang up the phone, and I called my wife immediately. I asked her where she was, and then I had to tell her, I don't give a fuck what you're doing. I don't care what's happening. You need to get somewhere safe. Somewhere where no one knows where you are outside of me and whoever you're with. Where's that? She was like, she thought I was joking at first, and then she realized I wasn't playing. So she told me, and I said, okay. So she immediately, I said, I don't care what you're doing. Drop it now and get there. That's what you need to do. I don't care about anything else, right? And again, she was like scared. You could hear her kind of cry. I'm like, I don't care. You have to go. So then I had to go looking for my brother. Now, I don't think many people have been in this situation before, right? Where you've had to, first of all, there's a lot of emotions happening here. I did this as a solid to you, right? And yes, it's a little messed up how you found out, but I did this for the family. So for you to be treating me like now you're going to erase mine is a major violation. So I'm just being honest. I called my mom and I told her, I said, hey, I said, when's the last time you spoke to your son? She said like a day ago or something. I said, great. I said, he got a nice suit. She was like, wow. I said, because I'm going to put him in a casket if I find him. I was like, and I'm not playing. Like, I was like, I might go to jail today. I said, I'm going to kill your son if I find him first. And she thought I was joking until she realized I wasn't joking. because again, this family has a history of specific things, right? Like we've had to move in a certain way. So she was crying, trying to tell. I just hung up. I couldn't even have a conversation beyond that. When we did find each other, we did have an altercation, but let's just say it went over okay. And the end of it all, this is what I mean when I say like I could disappear, right? Like I've had to have a certain skill set to be able to do certain things to protect people I love and everything else. So after it, there's a lot of repairing that has to be done, right? Most people will never do the work. The reason I bring this up in the visceralness of it is because I've had to rebuild those bridges, and I'm not the one that caused the harm, right? And a lot of the times, that harm can be to other people, or it can be to yourself, right? And we just had a recent conversation about how my wife thought something was very simple, and I was like, no, it's much bigger than that, and that's why it matters, and you gotta stop doing that, right? People don't understand the story behind the man, because when I did yoga, one of the first things that happened when I was becoming a teacher was learning that I had to let my story go, right? But that doesn't mean that like the things that put me here aren't important. It just means that they don't define me anymore. To realize that is to completely change how you do things, right? But every once in a while, you gotta talk about it. So I talked about it this morning with John and them, and I am glad for the people I have in my life, but like this space, there's only pockets of people understand me, and I'm okay with that. At first, there was no one. Like there was no one. No one grew up the way I did. It was hard to talk about it. I know how it makes me look. I know how it sounds, and I didn't want to put that on other people and not be and be rejected. Fair, just because of something I had to do, you know. I have a background that I don't talk about and other stuff, and there's a reason for that. I don't want to be defined by it. Yeah? But I have learned, like I'm doing right now, to share those stories because they're life-changing and connecting for so many people. So there is a version of where you have to love yourself enough to protect yourself. But once your cup starts to overflow, you get a chance to let other people receive from that overflow. That's what I try to do here. So when I told that story this morning, the amount of "we get it" was exactly what I needed to hear. That's what I needed. And I actually spoke on, I was talking to him, and I was talking about inventory, and I remember your response, and I was like, whatever, right? Because we were talking, I was talking about nobody gets it. I said, this is a hard season for me, I'm being honest. And then I said, but Amy and Devin have been here like in ways that I cannot express I'm grateful for. I realize that those moments are what make it easier for me to show up for this community in the way that we're gonna need, right? Being grateful and having gratitude for those moments. So I'm excited about what's next, but when we're talking about spiritual expansion, it's the heaviness of the thing that I know I have to carry in the next season being manifested through my physical and my mental in the previous season, right? It's the trial. So like being pulled on by one relationship and having another support you and realizing that you actually have to seek and acknowledge that support was not something I had ever had to do. Again, I didn't have any support, right? Like if I did, it wasn't in a way that I could see because I was too blind and tunnel visioned to understand what it was. Now, if you ask me those same stories, I'll be like, oh yeah, this person was here, this person was here. But at the time, nobody's coming to help me. Nobody understands. You don't know me like that. Blah, 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 blah. That's how I felt. So being on the other side of it, I'm saying all of it's connected. But I promise you, when I say that to the average person and they don't know me like that yet, there's so much judgment behind me even saying that. I had to accept that, bro. Like I had to accept that judgment was because of their own misgivings. I used to think it was mine, right? Which is why I had so much trouble sharing. But those moments where people reject it, sometimes it's not even a real rejection, bro. It's just whatever they can't get past. You understand what I'm saying? And again, you're pushing me away because the answer can't be that. You get what I mean? I had to learn that. So being in a space where everyone's willing to accept what the answer is, it's fucking new to me, right? And it just makes me want to do more So I'm grateful for spiritual expansion, but I also fucking hate it. Like at the same time, I hate it so much because it's still just another trial for me to overcome. So I think I'm glad for it. I'm grateful it's happening. At the same time, it sucks. All right. I think that's just something people need to hear because it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Rainbows and butterflies.
So, but I can say at the end of it that like what we're building here is worth it. What's going to happen coming from it is worth it. I want to look back at these and say, man, that was funny when we sucked at this. You remember that? You remember when we were terrible at this? I look back at some of the old like beginning ones and I was like, damn, we got a lot better already, right? And that's what it takes for me. There is no secret formula for me. It's just doing it over and over and over and over.
That is a secret formula.
Right? I mean, it's not a secret.
It's not a secret.
If it's in front of you, you know? But that's what people want. People want the quick hack, the
It's
cheat.
the best kept secret.
It's literally the process, right? So I'm excited about it all. And stay tuned for what it's going to look like for us to expand really, really soon because it's coming. All right? All right, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Again, if you want to figure out where we are, www.gettingitdaily.com is our website, or you can check us out on social media. That would be Facebook or Instagram under the name Getting It Daily. We're happy to answer your questions, plug you into the community, or answer the Get them, kids!
Hey,
Get them, kids!
come here. It's okay. Come on.
Damn.
She tried to say hi to her.
Damn.
Don't say hi to me.
Don't say
Got
hi to
him.
me.
All right. So thank you so much for watching. This is Coach Linden
Amy.
Oh boy.
Oh, it's Debbie.
signing off.
Peace.
Peace.